Hello everyone and welcome to LowRentRick Scale Modelling and my complete build of one of my favourite kits of all time, the Airfix Starter Set 172 scale Mitsubishi A6M2b 0. Now before we get going, please consider subscribing to my very small channel, leaving a like, leaving a comment. The YouTube algorithm really picks that up and pushes the video out more, and it gets watched more and allows really small creators like me to keep going. So please do consider giving that like, comment and giving a subscribe. Thank you. Now I like this kit so much, it's one of the few that I do recommend when somebody says they want to give scale modelling a go. This, along with the Airfix starter set, the Tiger 1, are some of the few kits that I do say that's where you want to start because of how good a kit it is. And as with all starter kits, I always say give the paint pots a little bit of a check. They do suffer from drying out. You don't know how long some of these kits have been on the shelf. I've recently opened up a few with Airfix club memberships for sort of $7.99. I'm sure some of you have found much earlier ones. Please give us a comment, see how many of you out there have found earlier ones, like the leaflets inside the boxes. But the paint in this kit seems to be pretty good. It seems to be a good condition kit actually. So a little drop of water, which we'll get into later. I always thin the paint down quite a lot, and you'll notice that I tend not to prime with these smaller kits either. But I've made a video on that too, so I'll share that in the link below. A good technique to get a really good finish without having to prime your model. For this one, I've decided I'm going to paint most of the parts as much as I can while they're still on the sprue. I tend to do that a lot with the smaller kits. I've only just, after all the videos, somewhere like 72 videos I've made so far, I've just got hold of a paintbrush, and I tried it first on the Revell 172 scale Handley Page Victor K Mark II, which I'll put a link in the description below. It went really well. I'm really pleased with the little airbrush that I bought. It was very cheap, so I'm going to make a video about that one too. For those of you who are thinking of buying an airbrush, I only spent £14 on one, and the results I got were quite spectacular. So I'll get on with making that one this weekend. So this whole model took about 3.5 hours to complete from start to finish. So when it comes to the painting bits, I'll do what I usually do and I'll speed up. So we're not sitting here for 3.5 hours watching me put layer after layer of super thin paint on, regardless of how good the finish is. And we'll get on to the build and the final paint, and we'll see what we end up with. So for the painting, I'm going to use the kit colours that came with it because they're in quite good condition. I know people really aren't a fan. And I've got some water off screen there. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to sort of mix a brushful to a brushful. So it works out around 50% water to 50% paint, and apply really thin coats directly to the plastic without primer. I often get asked why I use primer. I'm not against it. I think primer is a great idea. But what I tend to try and do with some of these starter kits is simulate where people would be when they buy them. They probably don't want to go out and splash out on fancy primers, and I want to see what they can really do with what comes in the kit, except of course the glue. I'm not a great fan of the Airfix poly cement. I really am a fan of the Revell contactor because of the way it applies and the way that it sticks. I find that the Airfix poly cement is a really strong, tough glue if you've got some structural applications that don't quite require super glue. Then the poly cement's the way I go. So I'm just going to whip through the first coat of all the paint here, and then we'll get into a bit of the build. We're going to start by assembling the cockpit and the main fuselage. No fit issues with this kit really. No more than you would generally get. I mean, you really want to sand your seams back a little bit They can sometimes be a little bit proud, but generally it's quite a basic setup for the cockpit and fuselage. So I'm going to get on and build that bit first. Of course, one of the best features of this kit, of the Zero, is its very pale colour scheme. Later on, as I got more and more experienced, I want to build more Zeros because they are great for practicing your panel lining on if you want to do a bit of that, and your weathering. So if you want to do a bit of exhaust stuff or dirty the plane up, as I know a great many people get such pleasure out of, this is a great kit to start from because it's such a pale colour scheme and quite uniform across the plane. It gives you a lot of leeway to get some practice in and to get your eye in for getting the plane weathered up. The same goes here for the engine parts. Now I've painted them black as the kit says, but there's a great opportunity here to get the silver paint out and get those pistons painted up, add a bit of weathering. Much later on, I mean this is done a long time ago. This is one of the very first kits I picked up again after a long time off. But now I'd be inclined to have a go at making this engine look more like an engine and not just like a black blob. So there is plenty of opportunity to get that practice in and make yourself a little bit better. As far as the fit of the kit goes, once you've got your sprue ends tidied up, the fit is absolutely perfect. I know that's not always true of some of the smaller starter kits, but on this one, it is really good. If you've had a different experience, drop a comment below the video and let me know. But I found this slotted together just about perfectly. Apart from the painting, my favourite part of any build is when you first see it come together as a whole, when you finally get the wings and the tail section together and you can see what the model looks like and get a real feel for it. It's definitely very satisfying. Also nice to see that you get a pilot with this kit. I've seen in a lot of comments in a lot of the groups I'm on Facebook that pilots seem to be getting missed out of the newer kits or the newer tool kits. I really enjoy it when you get a pilot. It gives you a chance to get a bit of that detail practice. Painting figures is something I used to dread, painting figures, painting canopies. But now when I get a pilot, it's always nice to get in there, give him a base coat, and then just see if you can practice a little bit and start bringing a bit more detail into each one. Knowing full well that you're going to sit him in the cockpit, and you'll know the works there. But it's really good for those bits of experience and starting to get into what it takes to actually paint up some of the detail on these pilots. And of course, the quality of them varies. Sometimes they're just little blobs, and sometimes like the one on the Typhoon I've done recently, the detail is really quite intricate. Good practice pieces. So when you're doing a plane in gear down configuration, I find it's easier to glue up the wheel, the strut, and the bodywork together as one before you mount them to the plane. Sometimes these things suffer from a lack of structural integrity. So if you do find one that's quite flimsy, then I suggest using a good super glue to put these parts together. It really adds some rigidity to them, especially if the plane's going to display being sat on its wheels. These ones are actually going up on a wall at the background of the studio, so I've got to make sure that the wheel sections are really quite strong. So I would suggest assembling them as a one first and then sticking them onto the model. When it comes to the propellers, these will be statically displayed. So I like to generally glue the propeller into place to give it some symmetry. Obviously they're designed to be able to turn, so if that's your thing, you do it that way. But for me, I like to get it glued in properly, so I know that it's going to stay in the right place. Decals on this kit are very basic, pretty simple. The old Japanese meatballs. When I first posted the time lapse of this build, somebody gave me some great information that even if the plane during warfare or during use got shoddy, that the meatballs were never allowed to look faded or chipped, and they had to carry some paint and keep them in top condition all times. Well, it was a really serious punishable offence. I didn't know that until somebody helpfully commented it out on one of my videos. So thanks to that person. Sorry, I forget your name. But the decals on this kit are extremely simple. They're also good quality, and I found them really easy to apply. With it being such a nice basic colour in both the decals and the plane, you get a really nice stark contrast. So these were a pleasure to put on. There we go, the complete build of the Mitsubishi A6M2b, one of my favourite kits of all time. A cracking little kit. I would always recommend this to somebody who wants to start out with scale modelling. Please have a look at our Facebook group. It's a very small group, but it's growing day by day, and you'd be welcome to come and share your work and have a look at what everybody else is doing. If you like what we do, please leave a like, leave a comment, and consider subscribing to the channel. As I say, very small channel. Every like, comment and subscription helps and allows me to keep making these videos and get them out in front of more people, and each video will get better and better. Thank you so much for coming and joining and watching all the way to the end, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye bye.